1237, back with another review. And this is another random first time blind watch from Hulu. And this is one I'm really torn on. Uh, it, Overall, I'm fairly disappointed with it. But had I gone into it with very little expectations or no expectations, I probably could have just seen this as like a middle of the road, 50%. Oh, I've seen it better somewhere else. But this movie had a lot of promise to it just on face value. I mean, it's IFC Midnight, which in turn might actually be definitely one of the lower tier IFC films that I've seen. In return, it promised the horror return of Fairuza Balk, who I've always loved. I mean, what horror fan has not had a crush on Fairuza Balk? And you have this kick-ass poster, which is highly reminiscent. I don't know why I pointed to it. It's not up yet. It will be up. Kick-ass poster that is highly reminiscent of 70s, 80s Italian giallo. And even the score in the opening and the closing credits is very much like a Ennio Morricone or Stelvio Soprani, I believe his name is, type of giallo score that sounds awesome. It does have a very good score, not across the board, it's up and down. But it's the 2018 film Trespassers. Now it's also known as Hell is Where the Home Is. In fact, if you look it up on Wikipedia, that's the title you'll find it under. I don't know if that was the original release or if it's that way in certain countries. I couldn't find anything on it. Maybe it was released as that, but then they changed it to Trespassers. If you even look up the poster to Hell is Where the Home Is, that is also highly reminiscent of... And the poster's probably more honest than the Trespassers one, but the title Trespassers is more honest because maybe you saw this movie the first time when it was called The Strangers. Now, yes, I mean that as a joke. It is not a remake or anything, but the plot is very, very similar, and even the pacing is very similar. And the original Hell is Where the Home Is poster shows, actually, kind of reminiscent of like a Strangers poster. Trespassers, Strangers, they sound alike. Except Hell is Where the Home Is, and that kind of cover does make it seem more like an IFC film. This was very low tier for IFC, but I'll get into it. It is a home invasion movie, but it's the kind of home invasion where I talked about this recently when I reviewed Held. Held feels more like an IFC film than Trespassers does. Where it's not, yes, we do follow the inhabitants of the home. Someone breaks in and they are the bad guys. It's not like Don't Breathe or anything like that. Only it is more like Held or The Strangers because it's not their home. It's like a rented vacation getaway home. And here we have two dysfunctional couples, masked intruders. It was directed by Orson Oblowitz, written by Corey Deshawn, starring Angela Trimber, who was kind of the, I don't really want to say sluttier friend in Rob Zombie's H2, or the exhibitionist friend from the record store. Janelle Parrish, Jonathan Howard, Zach Avery, and Fairuza Balk. And if you look at the poster where it says and Fairuza Balk, almost anytime they put and with a very attractive name, a very genre attractive name, that usually means, hey, keep your eyes open, or hey, don't blink because you'll miss them, because she's in this movie less than 10 minutes. And while her presence is eerie and off, and just kind of you can't really put your finger on what she's about. She's still wasted. Cinematography by Noah Rosenthal, and it doesn't even tell me who did the score, so that's great. Maybe there was no score because a lot of it did sound like it was ripped from somewhere else. Again, like the opening and closing credits, very 70s Giallo of Ennio Morricone. And then there were other bits where it's just like this pounding kind of bass beat that's very adrenaline pumping. And then there's some pieces that sound like it is ripped straight from like early mid 2000s Lionsgate. And so Jonathan Howard, he did look familiar. I guess he was in Thor Dark World. I wouldn't know about that. Uh, Downtown Abbey, World War Z, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Okay. Nothing I've really seen. And I looked up who Zach Avery was, who plays Joseph. Um, oh, he was actually arrested recently. $227 million through a Ponzi scheme. Well, all right then. I looked up if he was the if he was the, sorry I paused it so much, the lead from Safer at Home, which is probably the best of the Zoom call, FaceTime, POV type horror films. I thought he was the lead in that. He looks like him, but it's not him. But anyway, so yeah, it it opens up with our masked attackers killing a couple for the same house, and then we cut to our couples arriving at this house. Very nice house. It's out in the desert. And before I get too far, some people have called this like a orange man agenda pushing film. I don't really talk about politics much on this channel. I just don't want to. But I don't see it as that. I mean, yes, the couples are Caucasian, which, well, I didn't think the one girlfriend was, but I guess so. But our villains are all masked in like Day of the Dead skull masks, and they all speak Spanish, very stereotypically too. Like one just kind of hisses and he has a grill. But at the same time, it takes place in either Texas or Arizona or Southern California. It was filmed in Southern California, I believe. So geographically, it makes sense, but I didn't really see it as, oh, white people being attacked, and this is what will happen. I didn't see it as a politically uh, a political pushing film. I'm sorry. Uh, there is an officer in the film who is Latino. Granted, his name is Ramirez. Yeah, shares a name with the Night Stalker, but okay. Yeah, I just didn't see it that way. We have these two couples. Our main couple, Sarah and Joseph, who is uh, Angela Trimber. Was that her name? Yeah, Angela Trimber and Zach Avery. They're kind of on the rocks. They're very distant, like in The Strangers. Although I will say for a different reason. We get the idea as it goes on that, she miscarried. It hit her very hard. They drifted. And he eventually, the way he worded it, he cheated before the miscarriage with the girlfriend and the other couple, who named Estelle, who was like Sarah's childhood friend. She's played by Janelle Parrish. And Jonathan Howard plays her boyfriend, Victor, who is an over the top abusive asshole. He is almost as bad as the guy on crutches from Gutter Balls. Not that over the top, but he is just, yeah, unhinged, I don't want to say narcissistic. I hate when people use that word because half the time they don't know what it means. But he's completely abusive, and he's just doing coke the whole time he's alive. Because spoiler alert, he dies. So they're dysfunctional because he's abusive, and they're dysfunctional because they've drifted apart. There's some serious drama in their life. She doesn't know about the affair. And there's a knock on the door. It's Fairuza Balk saying her car broke down. Can I use the phone? And earlier, it foreshadowed this whiskey bottle with a cap that has a huge spike on it. And it held on it for an inordinate amount of time, showing this is going to be used later. And it does. And it's a shame because Fairuza Balk, she's definitely trying to do what she can with this character, but she just doesn't have the time or the material to really do something with. But she does have this air of, there's something off with this lady. She comes off as really sort of sweet, but off. She talks to them, but then, she seems like she's being there too long, or Joseph realizes her car's not there, and that's kind of sketchy. So Victor goes to throw her out. There's a bit of a struggle, and whoops, her head goes right down on that whiskey glass, right through the eye. And the pacing with this movie is really slow. I mean, it's short. It's like an hour 33 minutes. Which is average, but it stays within that low 90s mark. But the way it's paced, I started thinking, like, aren't there supposed to be intruders in this movie? Because first we have the death of Fairuza Balk, and they try to cover that up before anyone figures out. Then there's another freak out where Victor is stabbed by Estelle in a heat of the moment sort of defense. So then they got to worry about that because he's still alive. And it just seems more like this getaway vacation gone wrong that eventually these trespassers come in. So really, by the time the trespassers get there, there's not a whole lot for them to do. And they don't really do much. I mean, there's 3 masked ones, and then there's another twist. It tries to be one of those movies like, how I always say in reviews, the best way to go into this movie is blind. On top of my head, something like the Christmas film, Better Watch Out. That's one that, has this complete diversion about halfway. This tries to do that, I think, or it tries to have these twists and turns, and it just doesn't really work. Because the cops are called. First, they try to call the cops on Fairuza Balk, then that happens. Victor just keeps doing more and more coke. Estelle threatens Joseph, say, well, if you don't help me get rid of Victor because he's abusing me and I don't like it, then I'm going to spill the beans about our affair, and then he's going to kill both of us. So he goes and confesses to Sarah, which this is after Fairuza Balk is killed, but they've already had somewhat of a conversation about their future together. So it just feels misplaced. Like, oh, hey, someone just died in our kitchen, but I cheated on you. And I know we're both messed up about the miscarriage. It was performed well, the scene was, but I feel like that scene should have been when they're both outside and he brought up the fact that her car's not there. So then the cops show up and they give the worst story to these two officers, Officer Ramirez and Daniels. And I want to get the name of Daniels because Carlo Rota. Okay, so there's like two Latino cops. Only one is good. I said I'm spoiling this whole movie. He looked at Boondock Saints, A Mission to Mars. He was that. Oh, that's where I saw 5. He was the guy that worked for the Herald. He was that guy. Uh, okay, so I have seen him in some stuff. Was he also in? Probably not. No. Oh, he wasn't Breaking Bad, but okay. They just keep fumbling over their words and getting the story messed up. No cop would believe them. But, the way the story pans out is Joseph has to pretend to be Estelle's boyfriend. So he has to, put his arm around her and, right next to Sarah. And this is after the affairs come out. And, IFC usually has stuff that is very interesting like that, both story-wise and character-wise. There's just no weight to this movie at all. And then he has to, hide his wedding ring, so he, takes it off in front of Sarah. Oh, yeah, 'cause they're married. Estelle and Victor are just dating. And then just as Officer Ramirez is about to go check the house or whatever, one of the trespassers comes in, goes in with a machete to the head. And then the other officer goes to check, which Sarah grabs Ramirez's gun, shoots him, which I don't think that kills him because I think there was 3 to begin with. Then there's the one that Joseph drowns in the pool during their fight. But and then the twist really is when Sergeant Daniels comes back in after checking the perimeter. He knocks Estelle out. And he's in on it. He's the unmasked one. He's the ringleader, I guess. And just like the strangers, which, why are you doing this? Because you were home. Here, why are you doing this? Simply wrong place, wrong time. There's something they want in the house, and they happen to be there. Okay. And, yeah, Joseph and one of the guys gets in a fight by the pool. Joseph is stabbed. He's able to drown him. And then he's, knocked out throughout most of the movie. So then you have Sarah and Estelle tied up in the baby room, no less. And Sergeant Daniels is trying to be this intimidating psycho, getting right up close to the face and just be like, oh, well, this is very interesting now, isn't it? Huh? Don't you think so? I think we have to do something about that. And just being over the top and just, oh, no, this is going to be very interesting. I think we... He has Sarah crawl on all fours to slap Estelle because she keeps saying, I'm sorry. It's like, oh, she did something to you. Oh, I get it. That was your husband. And, oh, okay. Well, that is... And the only real torture or anything there is the last 2 trespassers come in and they got a pair of bolt cutters where they hold a bullet and the other one hits it with a window punch that's on the bottom of a machete. Which, it makes it look like all these sound waves are hitting them. But I'm guessing it's just, you have something here. It's probably going to make you still do that. The idea is eventually they're going to hit it just right and the bullet's going to go through. Which it does on the 3rd try. The reason why they're there is the owners managed to get a photo of them killing the owners, I guess through like security or whatever. And I thought it was gonna have something to do with this giant photograph on the wall that Pharaoh Zabalt talks about. But no, it's it's in the dark room in the enlarger, which Sarah knows because she sees the mask on the floor, which is the mask from the awesome Italian Giallo poster that this movie's nothing like. So she goes to show Officer Daniels. She was right. I don't even remember them going in the dark room at any point. I didn't even know that was there. Maybe just one of the many conveniences of this film. Yeah, instead of being well written twists, it's more so just convenience. So then, as she's developing it, which when I took photo class in high school, I don't think you see the photo on the first chemical, the first of the three. I always thought it was the second one. And I know that sounds like every comment on YouTube where it's like, well, you know, as someone who's been an astronaut for 97 years, I can tell you this video is fake. Or, hey, I actually used to room with this guy, you know, Elvis. So I know exactly what he was like. No, I actually did take a photo class in high school. But, of course, the photo shows up perfectly, no doubt. It's the photo he wanted. She splashes the chemicals on him. He's now blind. He's just shooting around. One of the intruders walks in, gets shot by accident. The only one left is, yes, I will say he is a stereotype of a Latin male, but again, I didn't see this as agenda pushing. He's got the grill, he's just hissing like, the puta, or whatever. And just as he's coming at her, we see he gets shot. Is Joseph, because we see him wake up, find a gun outside, and then it ends. Oh, and then also in the dark room after the trespasser gets killed, Angela picks up a tripod, bashes Daniel's face in, which with the red light and the blood does give it kind of an Argento feel to it. Just not as well shot or interesting as an Argento film. So then she goes to help Joseph, who still has the knife in him, but he kind of takes her hand away as if to say, like, no, don't, just let me. He dies. And I will say, the best shot of this movie was the ending, which had a bit of a Western feel, but it does end like a 70s movie. I mean, just this wide shot of her walking down the middle of the road in the desert at sunrise. Which, when Joseph kills that guy, it's like black night. But then when she runs over to him, it's like breaking dawn. But now it's sunrise, she's walking down the road in the desert, and you just get big red letters, Trespassers. And then the aspect ratio shrinks as the credit rolls to more great Italian-esque score. Yeah, there's not much to this movie. It's disappointing because it's IFC Midnight, and I always expect something, even if it's not super artsy, something more well-made or thought-provoking or well-written, you know, something better than just kind of a streamlined kind of film like this. This really just felt more like a rehashing of The Strangers. And, you know, even though it went with these... actually, I don't know what I was going to say about that. But it didn't have any kind of Italian feel, or 70s, really. It didn't have... Like, this didn't feel like a home invasion throwback with a bit of an Italian flavor to it. It just felt more like something you would see from Lionsgate in the 2000s. And The Strangers is much better. The Strangers feels more like an IFC film. Held felt more like an IFC film. I'll say Held was a lot better than this. Unfortunately, the best part about this movie is the poster. And half of the score, I'll say half of it, whether it's like the pounding beats, like when the trespassers are breaking through the windows, or that nice, giallo score at the beginning and ending. Other times it's just that typical 2000s horror score. I can't think of too many shots or camera work that was very interesting at all. The characters are almost nothing. I mean, you Sarah was probably the only one you could really care for. And, and Joseph, even though he did cheat and he's an asshole for that, he seems like the guy that's trying to make things right or trying to, you know, still trying to be the best person he can be. Whereas Estelle, there's not much to her. Victor's just an over-the-top, psychotic asshole. And then there's nothing interesting about the trespassers at all. I mean, at least with the strangers, they were voiceless and faceless, but they still had character to them. Whereas here they don't. And Sergeant Daniels was just more of this over-the-top kind of trying to psychotically intimidating, I guess. And it tried to be one of those movies that just goes in all these different directions, trying to, pull you and jerk you in all these different directions. I don't think it worked. It would have been more like The Strangers if it was just the main couple, and like right after we find out about the affair, it was the trespassers. I would say take the cop out of it, because it serves no purpose as to why he's there. It's just there for the sake of having that twist. Like, oh shit, he's in on it. Like, it doesn't... I mean, he tries to go on a little bit of a tirade, like, oh, we're always killing each other anyway. There's no law and order or moral compass anywhere. It doesn't really justify why he's with these guys. It's not like I spit on your grave, where even that's kind of pushing it, but I buy that more than I do this. So if it was just the main couple and, sure, 3 masked trespassers, and there was actually more time of them invading this home, then it could have been a bit more interesting. But I think it's bogged down by, I don't want to say ambition, but I'm really torn on this movie. I don't really have like a definite answer as to whether I liked it or not. It sounds like I don't. I did not want to talk about this for a half hour, but it's kept ranting, so it's a rant. But yeah, there's not much to this movie at all. But yeah, very, very disappointing, especially since it's IFC and the poster was so awesome. And I like home invasion movies, and most of the interesting stuff was more about just the corruption or just the downfall of this group of friends from the inside out. Perfect getaway gone wrong. There's a murder in the kitchen. What the fuck did we do? Oh, the guy just snapped and his girlfriend stabbed him. Oh shit, this is getting worse. What do we do? That was more interesting than the home invasion stuff, which should not be the case in a home invasion movie. Yeah, just stick with The Strangers. Yeah, that's all I got for that. So Trespassers 2018, or Hell is Where the Home Is. I'm not a fan. Thanks for watching.